Good morning. This is AM Dreamingstitcher here to see the flosstube community today on this 5th of May with the video that I said I was going to try to make, which is my manic mania efforts. My mania plans to review were to, in honor of 2018, try to spend 18 minutes per day for the first 18 days of May on each of my whips. I have 7 current works in progress, so that means that each work in progress by the end of the 18 days will have received 5 hours and 24 minutes of stitching time. Now I figured out before May actually started that it would be a bit too manic to actually do every day 18 minutes, 18 minutes, 18 minutes. I couldn't even promise that I could get all the stitching in that I would need in a day. So my plan is simply to see that by the end of May 18th, every whip has received that 5 hours and 24 minutes of stitching time. That's 18 times 18. So to stay on target, I would need to put in 7 times 18, which is 126 minutes per day, 2 hours and 6 minutes, to try to avoid falling behind on my goals. So I've been stitching some whips more than others, and I've got one that I'm almost stitched out of, meaning my 5 hours and 24 minutes are almost up. So that's why I kind of have to film the video today, because if my plan is to show you one actual day where I go 18, 18, 18, this day has to be it, because I've almost hit my limit on that whip. So I'm going to show you what I've got so far. I am on average on target for my 2 hours and 6 minutes a day, just a little few minutes over, but that's because I did some stitching this morning. So I really have still another 2 hours and 6 minutes for today. This morning was catch-up time. That's probably way more math than you wanted to hear. So let me just get into the whips and get started here. So I'm going to show you each whip and then pause the video and come back and show you where I've gotten in 18 minutes of stitching. Then I will show you the next whip, pause again, repeat, and at the end of it I will have done my day's stitching time, and you will have seen just what can get done by me in 18 minutes a day on each whip. So the one I'm going to start with, that was probably way too much babbling, but sorry, I don't want to do it twice, I want to get stitching, is His Eye is on the Sparrow, which is from Heartstring Samplery. I've showed all of them to flosstube viewers before, but if you're new to my videos, it is this one. It's very large. It's going to be a long haul piece. I am not using the called for Weeks Dye Works, I think it was, and Gentle Arts. Instead, I have doubly converted it. I first used DMC conversions that I kind of had to figure out from charts and things online, and then I changed those DMC colors to kind of lighter, brighter versions of themselves. I am stitching it on apparel linen, which I thought was going to work great until I began stitching, and then I figured out that it's not even in both directions. So I did kind of a corner of test stitching on it somewhere, and I can't recall now how it turned out. Sorry, I'm looking to see if I can find the test patch. That might be on my original scrap. But it's something like 36 in one direction and 32 in the other or something. Definitely not an even piece of linen, but it is what it is. So here is what I have so far. I'm hoping the camera will light that up for you. I do have a stitching light, but I don't know that that actually helps any. Maybe, maybe not. I think it just casts shadow. But in Maynia so far this week, I did add some green over here. I added a row to this flower basket. I added this little butterfly motif. I added this whole red flower and the green that goes down here. So that's how much I've done so far in Maynia on this piece. I think I spent a couple of hours on it to get that much done. I'm a bit slow. But I'm going to see now what I can actually, and yes, that is my needle. I'm planning to do some green. I'm going to see what I can get done in 18 minutes. So stay tuned. I think I'm going to be working over here on the next leaf, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to pause, find out how well this works, and be back to you in just a bit. For you it'll be a second, for me it'll be a while. Hang in there. Okay, I'm back. I found that kind of interesting. It took me exactly 17 minutes to do my green leaf over here. And the timer rang to give me a 1-minute warning, and it took exactly 1 minute to get my next skein of floss, pull out a section, separate the thread, thread my needle, and the timer went off. So I didn't get to start the next green bit, but there we are, 17 minutes to make that and 1 minute to get the thread ready for the next bit. Okay, I'm going to take that one out of the hoop. As you can see, it is very distorted vertically because of what I told you about the fabric, but I'm still liking it. I'm happy with, I mean, it's such a beautiful design. I'm okay that it's warped. I suppose it would drive some people nuts, but I like it. So there we are so far. Now, the next one, let me get this put up and then I'll show you the next one. Hang on, please, my patient people. I'm back. Okay, so the next one, next work in progress, is going to be my gray carousel horse from Bernat. And I was working on it earlier today, but it's not in the hoop at the moment. I will have to pop her back into her hoop. And she's had some work during Maynia. I've done more of her tail. I've done, I think, something along her hindquarters there, definitely part of the strap, some of the flower bits. This morning last night I was doing some of the floral parts there. This morning I was doing some of the border. I've added to her forelimbs, ready to finish up the hooves. One of these sets of ribbons got done. I think I might have done the pole during Maynia, but I won't swear to it. The lower part of the pole. I don't know. Anyway, she's coming along. And my plan, right now I still have the taupe threaded in the needle that the border was, but I'm going to look for the dark taupe and switch that out. So I'm hoping in 18 minutes I can make some more progress up there around these flowers and the border so you can see where it is now. And I'll show you where it's at in another 18 minutes. Of course, now I know it takes a minute to get the needle threaded, so we'll see what happens. Back with you shortly. Okay, so how did I do on whip number 2 of 7? Well, that got a little interesting. First of all, my organization scheme for that one is not very organized. If you look at that, I've just got all the threads from the kit thrown into a box. They were sorted in chart order at one point. They're getting a little mixed up there. So the first thing I had to do was figure out which one of those was the dark taupe as opposed to the dark brown, because they're very similar. After I found it, I stitched away, and we did all of the dark taupe there, all of the dark taupe there, a couple of stitches of light taupe that you probably can't even quite see that come in between the green and the dark taupe. And then I headed over here to start on another of these little teal flowers. And you may or may not recall that I was complimenting this thread last time about how I can work with really long sections of it, and I don't even have to worry about it knotting or anything. So I started in on my first little stitch of teal, and I got a monster knot. So by the time I got that out, before I even got that out, the timer rang. So next time I pick this one up, maybe we'll move on with that little flower. But that's how far I got with that. So we're going to pop her out of her hoop, move on to the next one. This is, by the way, being done on, I think it's 14 count Aida that came with it, and it's stitched with 3 strands of floss. So there she is. Okay, let me think what my next one will be. I'm going to pause here for a moment and pull up the next choice. Hi, I'm back. So as you can see, I think the next work in progress I'm going to slip my 18 minutes in on is my Orenco Originals White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. It is being stitched as recommended on 14 count. I think this is ivory. And you can see the stitch count and everything there. I've got all the flosses pulled and everything. You've seen the rabbit many times. I haven't done anything during Stitch Mania on this, not in May. The last thing I showed you that I worked on was a little bit of the blue over his shoulder here. So I haven't decided at this point where I want to stitch. So I may take a minute to figure that out before I actually start the timer. I don't think that's cheating to figure out what I want to stitch. But when I make up my mind before I actually pull the thread, I will pause, not pause, I will go hit the timer and see how far I can get in 18 minutes. Really not sure where I'm going to pick up on him. We'll have a surprise there. See you shortly. Hello again. I sure hope this is taping right because we're filming. What word do you use for computers? Because if it's not, I don't want to have to stitch everything over again. So what I decided on the Orenco Rabbit, I have that organized a little bit differently. Everything's in a big bag, and a lot of the floss is on rings. And I went with this color, 3826, and did, sorry, I think I just wrapped the computer, I hope that wasn't too loud, did 24 stitches in that color, including this little row of 4, but mostly down here, a little patchwork, filling in where those go. You can hardly even tell, obviously. And the timer rang just as the 1 minute warning rang just as I finished off those. And so I decided I would move on to the red for the heart. They are not on rings, but I pulled out my reds and was about to thread and ran out of time. So that was my 18 minutes of progress on the Orenco White Rabbit. Obviously 18 minutes is not pure stitching time. A lot of our time is spent with other things, fighting knots, threading needles, picking colors. You know, that's the way it is. So let me pause, put that away, and show you what I'm going to work on next. Hi again. I don't even give you time to miss me, do I? I'm going to be working on Fateful Night, my little Jiffy County cross stitch, which, as you may recall, has all the crosses and half crosses, but I am working on back stitching and French knots and such now. You see a needle dangling there possibly because that's where I was last working. I was doing some back stitch down there around the crates and along the edge of the dock and so on. So I'm going to pick up where I left off with that, and obviously I'll need some new thread because there's not much there, and do some of my back stitching. This one, by the way, is organized, if you can call it that, in a big tray that I got on clearance. Oops. Sorry about that. I don't want to edit that out, so hopefully there wasn't enough glimpse of that chart for you to see anything, but let me flip that over and try that again. Okay. Organized in this tray where I have all the flosses on a floss fly, and some of them are loose, some of them are bagged. Got my chart, got my needles, got my whatevers, and yeah, sorry about that little peep show there. That was unintentional. So I will be back with you in 18 minutes and show you what I've done with my back stitching. By the way, that was during Maynia, the little bit that I had done there. So it'll be a while for me, it'll be a short time for you. Be right back. Hi again. You're going to get tired of hearing that, I'm sure, by the time you've heard it 7 times over. So what kind of backstitching did I get done? Isn't there some kind of online place or store called Crate and Barrel? Something like that? Well, that's what I did. Finished my crate, finished my barrel. The timing was perfect. It rang just as I was wrapping up the backstitching on the little barrel there. So, yeah, that was 18 minutes worth of backstitch. Obviously, I'm a slow worker. I showed you all my Torah stitch last time. I didn't tell you that that was a total of 50 hours of stitching. That's the rate at which I stitch. It was just over 43.5 for the text and just under 43.5 for the text and just over 6.5 for the borders, so the total was 50. Anyway, let me pause here for a minute and show you what I'm going to do next. Only it's actually getting a little late. I may leave you for longer this time, but you'll still see me back pretty quickly. So hang in there. Okay, I've got number 5 to show you. I actually left you for a little while there. I was feeling very queasy, so I had to stop and take a break for lunch. These next 3 are going to be a little trickier because they're not well organized. I haven't worked on them in a long time. So number 5, I've got some of the floss in a bag here. I've got some in a little box, but we'll get to it. I'll figure it out and decide what I'm doing. It's going to be my birds of a feather, working on the top one there, and this was where, smacked my light, this is where you last saw it, and I'm not sure where I'm going to pick up, but I will figure that out before I set the timer, and when I come back I'll show you how far I got in 18 minutes on birds of a feather. So thank you for your infinite patience of waiting the 2 seconds it takes for you to see me again while I'm really gone much longer than that. Anyway, be right back. I cheated a little and took the time to tie off the thread that I was working on, but what I was doing was this berry right there. Let's see if I can get that close enough for you to see anything. That is not, doesn't look like a whole lot, I know, but that was 2 solid colors and 2 blends. And there's still another solid color and another blend to go. So that berry basically has 6 different colors in it, half of which are blends and half of which are solids. Anyway, I did part of a berry. It's the first thing he's had done on him in forever. So that was 18 minutes. Okay, I told you I was a slow stitcher. Maybe I didn't tell you that today, but I've told you before. I'm a slow stitcher. Okay, 2 to go. Okay, work in progress number 6. Let's get it the right way around. This is an artiste kit. On the legend it calls it Floral Splendor. Doesn't actually say that on the outside of the packaging, but that's Floral Splendor. The only thing I've done is a little bit around the area of the nest, so let me show you that. By the way, I don't think I mentioned that I did Fateful Night in hand, and this one's another one that I have in a big bag, and you can see I've got a great big hoop for that. So that one's going to be done in a hoop, and I don't have a whole lot on it yet, so I'm looking forward to actually putting a few more stitches in this thing because I have not worked on it, I think, since Parent died, so 9 months. I cannot tell what the light on this is going to look like, but that's what I have so far. And we'll see where we get in 18 minutes, and then there'll be only one more left. Be back shortly. Okay, so the way that one was organized is it came as a kit with all the colors on these thread cards, but once I've separated them from the card, I put them in little miniature sandwich bags, and I put a little slip of paper in there to tell me what the symbol and number and color are. And it took me a while to get that one started because the color I wanted to go with didn't have its card. So I had to go back and match it to the original color card and figure out what was going on. So I did get 25 stitches of the color I chose in though. So it was this light color at the bottom of the nest. I added 25 stitches of that. I hope you can see that. The light's really weird from my angle. But that was 18 minutes of progress, plus threading needles and finding colors and all of that. And I'm a slow stitcher. Okay, so you can see why I still have one more work in progress to do, another 18 minutes to put in, but you can see why I decided it wouldn't be every day 18, 18, 18, 18, because that's just crazy. You can't get a whole lot done. But if I add up the time, I think it'll manage nicely and I'll make the same amount of progress as if I had done 18 a day. So I am going to show you that last one. The one, by the way, that I had the most time in on, that I had to film for because my 5 hours and 24 minutes is going to be all used up on it, was the carousel horse. So this next one is my oldest work in progress, the one that goes back and back and back, and I've showed it to you before. It's a stamped cross-stitch kit. If you wait just a moment, I will show it to you, and then we'll see how far we can get in 18 minutes. Hang on. Okay, so my last one is another wonderful project bag. It's my Tiffany Wedding stamped cross-stitch by Busilla. And I have a feeling this is going to take me a minute to get started because I'm not sure where the needle is. We'll find out if the needle is in there. There's my progress so far. I have no idea what color I will pick or what you're going to see 18 minutes from now. Well, you'll see it seconds from now, but what I will get done in my next 18 minutes. It's another one where the colors are sorted into little bags with cards that tell me what I've got. So if I can come up with the embroidery needle, yeah, we'll see what happens here. Anyway, thank you for sticking with me so far, if you have. And I will be back as soon as I have another 18 minutes of work in on that Tiffany Wedding, and we'll wrap up after that. That was a sigh. I didn't set the timer. It occurred to me as I was stitching along that I may have forgotten to do it, so I stopped and went to look, and I didn't set the timer. So I don't know how many minutes I stitched. I'm going to do 18, but let me show you where it's actually starting from then. So when I thought the timer was ticking and it wasn't, I was doing some light turquoise along the edges of the flower. So let's try that again. This one's going to get more than 18 minutes today because I have no idea how much stitching I just did. So I will pause you. I will set the timer. I did find an embroidery needle. I don't know if it was the embroidery needle. That's what made me forget to do the timer, was I was hunting that needle down. But I will be back in 18 minutes. See you shortly. And that's 7 whips. So what did I get done on that 7th one? Not tons. Here we are. I did some yellow over here, a little bit of what was there. I did the center of the flower. I was tired of that being empty. I did a little bit of yellow down here. I got some light turquoise threaded into my needle with plans to do a little more, and I ran out of time. So that is how much, or rather how very little, I can get done when I work on my whips 18 minutes at a time. I would still like to continue for the month to see to it that I get the equivalent of 18 minutes a day times 18 days on each of these 7 whips. Some of them I haven't touched in so long that it's nice to be able to go back to them. This hoop, by the way, I had to steal back from the gray carousel horse because it was the hoop I was using on Tiffany Wedding, and it had been so long since I did Tiffany Wedding that I didn't have the hoop with it anymore, just like I went hunting for the needle. I know that was definitely not the most exciting Maynia that I've ever seen, but I had kind of promised viewers, thank you by the way if you are viewers that come back regularly, I had kind of promised that I was going to try to do a video that showed what it would be like to do 18 minutes on each of my whips. And so that's what it looks like. For the rest of the first 18 days of May, I'm sure I will go back to just trying to get all the time in that would be the equivalent. I may do more on my carousel horse, but I will not count those minutes toward my total because I've already put in the 5 hours and almost 24 minutes on that one. I think I'm about 6 minutes short of being done on that one. And my cat is walking over here. That's not good. I need to clean up again from my last work in progress. Thank you so much if you tuned in for watching, seeing what I was up to. I will try to have a regular update perhaps at the end of the month. I'll show you how far I got on each of these things. I realize that 5 hours is not going to be a whole lot at the rate I stitch. Although really, even though it was just tiny bits today, remember that's going to be times 18. So if you take even the few stitches that I got in on each project and multiply that, I think there'll be something visible to be seen by the end of the month. Hello cat, what do you want? He's right here. You can't see him, but he is. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing if you're a subscriber. I hope you all are having a great month of May. I hope you're having a good time with your stitching. And I'm going to finish this up now. Hey, baby. And talk to you perhaps at the end of the month or sometime in June. Thank you so much. And that was my Manic Mania. Bye.